She walked into the reunion in a simple dress, and before she could even sit down, a former classmate threw a glass of red wine over her head amidst mocking laughter. How dare someone that poor even show up here? But just seconds later, the entire room fell silent when a powerful man walked in, wrapped his arms around her, and declared, "This is my fiancée, billionaire Maya Thompson, CEO of the nation's largest healthcare chain." No one had expected it. The girl they once mocked for being poor was the very billionaire the world had been searching for. Maya had always heard about Kingsbridge Academy. It was the school of dreams, tall buildings, rich students, and teachers who wore suits and spoke English like they were born in America. Every time she passed the school gate, she would look through the bars and imagine herself walking through them one day. But she never thought it would happen, until it did. The letter came on a hot Tuesday afternoon. Maya had just finished helping her mother wash beans for the next morning's sale. Their tiny room was dark, but her mother's face was glowing with tears. "Maya," she said, voice shaking, "you've been chosen." Maya blinked. "For what, Mama?" Her mother handed her a white envelope with the Kingsbridge Academy stamp. Inside was a letter offering Maya a full scholarship, tuition, books, and even uniforms. She had recently applied when she found out about the scholarship for bright students. Being the best student in her school, she had decided to try, though she wasn't sure she would get in. Now, holding the letter in her hand felt surreal. Her knees hit the floor. "Thank you, Jesus," she said happily. That night, her mother cooked the last yam in the house. As they ate with palm oil and salt, she held Maya's hand. "Never be jealous of others," she said. "Be content. You don't know what pain some people hide behind riches. Focus on your books. Your time will come." Maya nodded through her tears. The next morning, she stood at the gate of Kingsbridge Academy holding her mother's old leather handbag. The sun was still low in the sky, and the other students were just beginning to arrive, stepping down from air-conditioned cars, dressed in neatly ironed uniforms with shiny black shoes. Some had drivers, others had parents waving them off. She quietly stepped through the gate. Her uniform was clean, as it was given to her by the school, but her shoes were too big for her small feet and had been patched more than once. She carried a stack of second-hand textbooks, most with torn covers and scribbled notes inside from unknown hands. She didn't mind. She was just grateful to be there, to be chosen at her dream school. Kingsbridge was a private school for the rich. The school buildings were tall, painted cream and gold. The classrooms had air conditioners and smartboards. The dining hall served jollof rice with chicken, plantain, and even ice cream on Fridays. She had come from a boot street where the houses were crowded and water came only at night. Her mother sold cooked beans and pap by the roadside. Her father had died when she was 6. They didn't have much, but her mother had raised her with strong values. Maya never forgot that. At school, she sat at the front of the class. She always raised her hand, always submitted her assignments early. But this only made most of her classmates hate her. Whenever they looked at her, they saw the girl with the old shoes. The one who ate plain white rice with no meat at lunch. The one who never joined school trips because she couldn't afford them. Some whispered and laughed when she passed. Others openly made fun of her. But Maya didn't complain. She just smiled and kept going. At break time, she would sit under the mango tree near the edge of the school fence, open her lunchbox, and eat whatever her mother had packed, sometimes boiled yam, sometimes groundnut. She would watch the other girls with their snacks and drinks from the school canteen. She never begged, never asked to join. She was content. It didn't take long for everyone in the school to start noticing her. She was quiet, but whenever a teacher asked a question, her hand went up. Not only did she answer correctly, but she also explained it so clearly that sometimes even the teachers smiled in surprise. "Very brilliant," her English teacher once said. "No wonder you got the scholarship. I'm very proud of you, child." Soon, teachers started calling her a genius. She was picked to represent the school in spelling bees, science quizzes, and debate competitions. She won medals, and brought trophies back to the school more than once. Her picture appeared on the school board with a gold star under it. But not everyone was happy. The rich students didn't like that someone from the street was becoming the face of their school. They whispered cruel things when she passed. She's just a scholarship girl. A mere charity case. She doesn't belong here. Why is the school showing her off like she's one of us? Maybe if we touch her, her poverty will rub off. Sometimes they moved their chairs away from hers. Some even told the teacher they didn't want to sit next to her. Maya heard everything, and it hurt. She would pretend she didn't care, but sometimes at home, when her mother was asleep, she would cry silently into her pillow. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. She was sitting alone under the mango tree during lunch, eating cold yam and red oil. She always avoided the cafeteria, as she didn't want the rich students to mock her humble food. Although she didn't mind, she wasn't cut out for such unnecessary drama. Then she saw Chanel walking toward her. Maya looked away quickly. Chanel was the most popular girl in school, beautiful, confident, and always dressed like she was going to a fashion show. Her skirt was short, very short. Her school bag alone looked more expensive than everything Maya owned. Maya assumed Chanel was coming to mock her like the others. But to her surprise, Chanel came and sat right beside her on the bench. "Hi," Chanel said, smiling. Maya looked up, confused. "Hi." Chanel looked at her lunch and then back at her. "Is it okay if I sit here?" Maya blinked. "Yes." The other students stared from afar. Whispers began immediately. Chanel ignored them. "You're really smart, you know," she said. "Like super smart. I wish I was half as good as you in maths." Maya didn't know what to say. Chanel leaned back and smiled again. "Don't mind them. They're just jealous. You're doing great." Maya felt her heart soften, but also confused. Why would Chanel, the girl everyone loved, come to sit with her? Was this real or just another trick? From that day, things changed. Chanel didn't just sit beside Maya during lunch. She became her sitmate in class. Every morning, she would walk into the classroom and go straight to Maya's desk. The other students watched in shock. Whispers flew around at first, but after a while, they got used to it. And strangely, they stopped mocking Maya. They no longer moved away from her or whispered behind her back. Some even started greeting her with small smiles. Maya couldn't believe it. For the first time since she entered Kingsbridge, she didn't feel like an outsider. She felt safe. She and Chanel started talking about everything: school, books, and dreams. Maya was always patient, always kind, and always ready to help. Sometimes Chanel would say, "Maya, I don't know how you understand all these things." And Maya would laugh. "I just love learning." Maya began inviting Chanel to study with her in the library after school. At first, Chanel didn't like the idea. "Library again," she would complain, stretching. "You know I hate that place. It smells like chalk and silence." Maya would smile gently. "Just 30 minutes. I'll help you with the chemistry notes." Chanel would roll her eyes, but still follow her. And little by little, her grades began to improve. Every time she passed a test, she would hug Maya and whisper, "You're the reason I passed." Maya felt proud, not because she was helping a popular girl, but because she was helping a friend. One afternoon, while they were packing up their books, Chanel opened up. "My dad travels a lot," she said softly. "He sends money but doesn't really check on me." Maya looked at her quietly. "My mom cares more about parties and clothes than about me. She says I embarrass her because I'm not as smart as the other girls in her club." Maya didn't say anything right away. She just reached out and gently touched Chanel's hand. Chanel blinked fast, then smiled. That evening, as they walked out of the school gate together, Chanel said something Maya would never forget. "Thank you for being my friend." Their friendship continued until graduation. Then everything changed. After graduating from Kingsbridge Academy, Maya didn't throw a party. She didn't take pictures at fancy restaurants or post long messages online. She just hugged her mother, prayed quietly, and got ready for the next step. Maya got admission into a public university in a small town. It wasn't glamorous. The hostels were crowded. The classes were noisy. And the heat was sometimes unbearable. But Maya didn't complain. She was used to hardship. In her free time, she began volunteering at a small community school, teaching children who couldn't afford private lessons. She would carry her backpack and walk long distances just to teach them how to read, write, and dream. The children loved her. But even as she taught with joy, Maya was quietly building something big. In her third year, she started a small project with two course mates in the school lab. They wanted to create cheap medical equipment that could help hospitals in poor areas detect illnesses early. She worked day and night, writing code, building models, testing sensors. At first, it seemed like just a dream. But that small project grew. It caught the attention of professors, then doctors, then investors. By the time she finished university, her tech startup was already supplying equipment to several clinics. By her 23rd birthday, she was already a multimillionaire. But you wouldn't know by looking at her. She still wore simple clothes. She still walked into classrooms to teach children in slippers. She didn't post luxury pictures online. The only things she shared on social media were updates about her charity work, clean water projects, school supply donations, and free health camps. Her occupation read, teacher. Meanwhile, she had lost all contact with Chanel after their graduation. Chanel had gotten admission into a prestigious private university in the city, full of celebrities, children, and politicians' kids. They had parted, promising to keep in touch, but somehow Maya had been unable to reach her. Maya sometimes thought about her. She missed her laughter, her loud voice in class, and the way she used to defend her. But life had moved on. While Maya's life was rising quietly like the morning sun, Chanel's world was falling apart. In her second year at university, Chanel's father, a well-known businessman, was linked to a major fraud and money laundering case. This shattered their family completely. His company dropped him. His accounts were frozen. For Chanel, it felt like her world had collapsed overnight. The school fees stopped. The shopping trips ended. The drivers disappeared. Her mother stopped picking up calls, hiding from friends and church members. When she received her letter for a public university, she tore it into pieces. "I'm not going to sit in class with people who carry food in nylon bags," she snapped. She refused to be seen wearing regular clothes or taking buses. People called, texted, and tried to check on her, but she never replied. Instead, she changed her phone number and cut off all her old friends, including Maya. She simply disappeared from everyone's life. But she wasn't done. She dropped out of school and decided to build a new life. Not a real one, but a perfectly looking one on Instagram. She became someone else. She posted pictures in luxury cars, but they were rented for 1 hour. She took selfies in expensive hotels, but only used the lobbies. She wore designer dresses, borrowed from a stylist friend, never worn twice. Her captions were always deep. "If you don't know my story, don't judge my glory. Hustle hard. Stay classy." But the truth was, she wasn't hustling. She was chasing rich married men, attending parties, always hoping to meet a man who would rescue her from her crumbling life. She smiled in photos, laughed in videos, and posted luxury at its peak. On her birthday, she didn't feel guilty. In fact, she loved the attention, the likes, the fake compliments. And deep down, she never truly changed. Back in school, when she befriended Maya, it wasn't out of kindness. It was because Maya was becoming famous for her intelligence, and Chanel wanted a piece of that shine. She didn't like the way everyone's attention turned to Maya barely a week after she arrived. She told herself she was helping Maya feel less lonely. But in truth, she had always looked down on her. She hated the way Maya smelled of poverty and books, the way her shoes made squeaky sounds, the way she always had faith in things money couldn't buy. She had never respected her. Maya was just her way of feeling better about herself. But Maya never knew that. She thought they were friends. It was a quiet Saturday morning when Maya opened her email and saw it. Subject: Kingsbridge 10-year reunion invitation. She stared at it for a long time, her heart beating fast. 10 years. 10 years since she last walked the halls of that school. 10 years since the laughter, the mocking whispers, the mango tree lunches, and Chanel. She closed the laptop and sat on the edge of her bed. Her thoughts were full. She wasn't sure how to feel. She was rich now. Very rich. But not in the way people expected. She didn't wear designer bags or post flashy pictures. Her car was clean and simple. Her clothes were neat but plain. Her life was peaceful but quiet. She never liked showing off. What if they laughed at her again? What if they used her simple lifestyle to mock her like before? That evening, she told her fiancé Elijah about the invitation. Elijah was calm, kind, and wise beyond his years, a successful tech entrepreneur himself. He understood Maya's quiet heart. They had met just a few months earlier at a charity gala where Maya had spoken about youth education in rural communities. While others were showing off money and titles, Maya had stood there in a plain gown, speaking from her heart. Elijah had been smitten by her simplicity, the way she smiled gently, the way she didn't try to impress anyone, the way she focused on helping others. They started dating soon after that, and 6 months later, under the stars during a visit to a school she had built, he proposed. "I don't want to lose a rare gem like you. Please marry me." Now sitting beside her, he held her hand and said gently, "You have nothing to prove to anyone. Just be yourself. You shine without noise." She looked at him and smiled. Then she thought of Chanel. It had been so long. No calls, no texts, no explanation. Still, she missed her. She missed the way they used to sit and talk, the way Chanel would roll her eyes about the library but still follow her in. Maybe the reunion would be a chance to find out what happened. Maybe they could be friends again. She took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, I'll go." Far away, in a busy salon in the city, Chanel was also reading her own invitation. She burst into laughter. "Finally," she whispered. Her makeup artist looked confused. "What's funny?" Chanel grinned. "Kingsbridge is having a reunion, and I'm about to show them what success looks like." She had already begun planning. The dress would be borrowed from a high-end boutique. The shoes, the purse, even the perfume. Everything would scream glamour. And if money wasn't enough, she was ready to do whatever it took, even sleeping with another sugar daddy. She was already making calls, setting up a photo shoot to flood her Instagram before the event. More likes, more followers, more noise. "This is my moment," she whispered to herself, looking in the mirror. "Let them see who Chanel has become." She had no idea who else would be coming. Not even a single thought of Maya crossed her mind. Not yet. All she cared about was showing off. The day of the reunion came quickly. The restaurant glittered with lights. Music played softly in the background, and excited voices filled the air as old classmates hugged and laughed, trying to catch up with each other after so many years. Then the front doors swung open. Chanel stepped in. Her borrowed gown shimmered like gold under the lights. Around her neck and wrists were fake gold chains, big and bold, pretending to be real. She waved at everyone like a queen. Her makeup was thick, her heels high. Outside, a rented black Benz waited in front of the building. Driver paid for just 2 hours. Phones went up immediately. "Chanel, wow, you look stunning. Please let's take a selfie. You haven't changed at all." Chanel smiled proudly, striking poses like a movie star. Someone asked, "So what's your secret? You look like you're living the life." Chanel gave a loud laugh and flipped her hair. "Well, when you're dating a billionaire, life becomes soft." The crowd gasped. "Wait, which billionaire?" someone asked. She smiled wider. "Elijah. Elijah Grant. The tech genius everyone talks about." Mouths dropped open. Elijah was famous, the richest young tech CEO in the country. Private, powerful, rarely seen. "No way," a classmate shouted. "You're dating Elijah?" Chanel nodded, pulling out her phone. "See for yourself." She showed them pictures, heavily edited and photoshopped images of her standing close to Elijah. One where she pasted their faces beside a beach scene. Another where it looked like he was kissing her forehead. People crowded around her. Wow, you're living the dream, girl. You have arrived. Chanel, you're untouchable. She soaked in their praise like perfume. Then someone asked, have you seen Maya? She used to be your best friend, right? Chanel burst into laughter. Maya? She's probably in a dump somewhere, still wearing that her long skirt and faded sandals. I cut her off a very long time ago. The moment she got admission into a local school, I knew we were done. Another girl, Veronica, joined in. You won't believe this. I saw her Facebook profile recently. She's a primary school teacher now. The group roared with laughter. A primary school teacher? Probably in a small village school with dirty village children. Of course, poor people always remain poor. I wonder why that scholarship girl felt like she could outshine us. Maybe she teaches under a mango tree. I'm not surprised. She always looked like she came straight from the farm. Chanel laughed with them, tossing her curls. Not once did she pause to think that truth has a way of walking in when lies are at their loudest. The laughter was still ringing in the air when the door quietly opened again. Maya stepped inside. She wore a simple long sky blue gown. Her hair was neatly tied back, and her shoes were plain flats with a little dust on them. She held a small brown purse. No makeup, no jewelry, just peace on her face and a soft smile. For a moment, no one noticed her. Then Veronica turned and whispered loudly, "Is that who I think it is?" Everyone is shocked. She even showed up. Chanel followed her gaze, and her smile faded into a sneer. "Maya," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Wow, you really came." Others turned to look. Some snickered. Is that her real dress? She looks like a school matron. Did she come in a public bike or a bus? No car? No driver. She really hasn't changed. I guess being a secondary school genius doesn't make you rich in the real world. Maya heard every word. Still, she walked forward calmly, her heart beating fast, but her voice steady. "Chanel," she said gently, "I'm so happy to see you." She opened her arms and moved in for a hug with a big smile on her face. But Chanel stepped back sharply, waving her hand in the air like Maya was smoke. "Please don't stain me with your village perfume," Chanel said, frowning. "What's that smell?" Maya paused, stunned. I just came from church," she said softly. "I thought maybe we could catch up. I've missed you." She brought out her second phone, a small Android, and smiled. "Can I have your number?" Chanel let out a loud laugh. "With that phone? Please. This isn't 2010. You couldn't even get an iPhone." The others joined her. "See her phone. Does it even have WhatsApp?" "Maya, are you still living in the same one room with your mom?" "I bet she still eats Gary every day." Maya stood quietly, her smile slowly fading. She had expected many things, but not this. Not from Chanel. Not from the girl who once sat beside her in class, who walked with her when others mocked her. Maya looked down at her feet, then back at Chanel's face. "Okay," she whispered. "It's all right. Because sometimes the deepest cuts don't come from strangers. They come from the ones we once called friends." The music played softly. Laughter had returned to the room, and the waiters began to move from table to table, pouring glasses of wine into crystal goblets. It wasn't just any wine. It was Chat de la Rose, the kind only served to VIPs. The label alone made a few people pull out their phones for photos. "Wow," someone whispered. "This bottle costs hundreds of thousands." "Must be Chanel," Veronica said quickly, smiling at her. "You're too generous." Others raised their glasses toward Chanel. "To Chanel. For treating us." Chanel grinned and lifted her own glass. Although she knew the wine wasn't from her, she didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. She liked the praise, the admiration, the feeling of being back on top. Maya watched it all from her corner table and smiled quietly. She remembered Elijah's words before she left the house. "I've arranged something small for your old classmates. Nothing loud, just a little treat." He hadn't said more. But now she knew. This wine, this quiet surprise, was from him. He was a VIP in the hotel. His name alone carried weight. He must have made a call. Maya said nothing. She sipped her wine slowly and enjoyed the moment. But it didn't last. Just as she reached for a second glass, Veronica looked over and rolled her eyes. "Careful," she said loudly. "That bottle alone can buy your whole family's house in the village." More laughter followed. "Maya, do you even know the price of this wine? Your whole salary as a village school teacher wouldn't cover it even if you saved your whole life. She should carry her proper self and go." Maya placed the glass down without a word. But Chanel wasn't done. She stood up slowly, her eyes on Maya, her heels clicking against the floor. She picked up her half-full wine glass and walked over. Maya looked up, still calm. Chanel stared at her, smiled coldly, and said loudly, "Since you love this wine so much, let me help you wear it." Before anyone could stop her, she poured the wine over Maya's head. Gasps filled the room. The red liquid soaked Maya's hair, her simple gown, and ran down her arms. The room went silent. Maya closed her eyes. Her chest rose and fell slowly. But still, she said nothing. Chanel dropped the glass on the table with a proud smirk. "She stinks of poverty," she said. "I'm just helping to wash it off." Then the main doors opened, and everything changed. A man stepped in. Tall, well-dressed, quiet in his steps, but powerful in his presence. The waiters froze. The manager followed him, hands clasped respectfully. And every single person in the room gasped. Because standing at the door, eyes scanning the room, was none other than Elijah Grant. Elijah had always wanted to make their relationship public. But Maya, she was different. She liked quiet places, soft moments, and a life far from noise. No announcements. No flashy posts. Just purpose. So he respected that. But today was different. He had just finished a business meeting nearby when he decided to surprise her and pick her up from the reunion. He wanted to see her smile, maybe even catch a glimpse of her school friends. But what he walked into wasn't laughter or joy, it was cruelty. And just in time to see Chanel pour wine over the woman he loved. Maya stood still, dripping red, silent in shame. Something inside Elijah snapped. If Maya wouldn't act, he would. As he stepped deeper into the room, Veronica gasped. "Wait, isn't that Elijah? The real Elijah Grant?" Chanel turned slowly, completely shocked, wondering why he was there. But she decided to take advantage of the opportunity anyway. She adjusted her dress and rushed forward, her voice suddenly sweet. "Elijah, baby, I didn't know you were coming here." Before she could finish, Elijah walked right past her. Straight to Maya. Without saying a word, he wrapped his arms around her. Maya looked up, surprised. Her eyes were still wet. He wiped a drop from her cheek and whispered softly, just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Sorry I'm late, love." Gasps exploded around the room. Someone dropped their glass. Chanel stood frozen, mouth open, but no words came out. "Wait, what's happening?" someone whispered. Elijah turned slowly, still holding Maya's hand, and faced the entire room. His voice was calm but firm. "Meet my fiancée, Maya Thompson, expert in medical equipment, CEO of one of Africa's fastest-growing health tech companies. A classy, simple woman who doesn't flaunt, because she doesn't need to." Silence fell like a heavy blanket. One by one, classmates started pulling out their phones, searching her name. And there it was, photos from tech summits, interviews on CNN Africa, her name listed as a Forbes featured entrepreneur, her company logo beside clinics and hospitals in over 10 countries. Maya Thompson, one classmate read aloud. She's a billionaire." Chanel stood like stone, shaking slightly. All the classmates who had mocked Maya just minutes ago slowly lowered their eyes. Their laughter was gone, replaced by the shame of ignorance. Maya looked around. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just reached for a napkin and calmly wiped her face. The truth had spoken, and she hadn't needed to say a single word. The room was frozen. No one moved. No one breathed. Chanel still stood in the same spot, her arms limp at her sides, her eyes searching the faces around her. hoping someone would speak up for her, defend her. But no one did. I didn't say I was his fiancée. You all just assumed, she stammered. The pictures were just edited for fun. Lynn whispered. But you said he was your man. Others started to murmur. You showed us photos. You let us believe it. You laughed when we insulted Maya. Just as Chanel opened her mouth to respond, the restaurant doors burst open again. A loud, angry voice filled the room. There you are, you shameless. A woman stormed in, her wrapper flying behind her and heels clapping loudly against the tiles. She was older, but strong, and her eyes were red with rage. In one hand, she held a phone. Chanel tried to run, but the woman grabbed her by the hair and yanked hard. Guests screamed. Chairs scattered. Maya and some classmates rushed forward to separate them. Stop. Please. What's going on? Maya said. The woman shoved her phone forward. Ask her. Ask her why she's sleeping with my husband. She opened the gallery. Maybe you should look at this, the woman said, handing her phone to Maya. There they were, Chanel and a middle-aged man, walking into a hotel room, kissing in the hallway, smiling at dinner. Chanel, in the same dress she wore in her social media photos. Your rich lifestyle? Your bags? Your parties? They are all paid for by other women's husbands, the woman shouted. The entire hall went silent again. Chanel dropped to her knees. No, please, that's not what it looks like. But the damage was done. Everyone backed away. The classmates who once praised her were now shaking their heads in disgust. I can't believe we looked up to her. All that shine, fake. Maya was so sorry. Truly. Maya stepped forward, still calm, still kind. I've been working on my startup since my 3rd year in school, she said softly. It wasn't easy. There were times I failed. Times I cried. But I never gave up. And now, I run multiple companies across the continent. She paused and looked at Chanel. I came here today excited, because I thought I'd see my old friend. I missed her. I hope we could laugh again. Maybe remember the days under the mango tree. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But it turns out, she was never really my friend at all. Chanel couldn't speak. The same girl she laughed at was now richer, wiser, more respected, and more loved than her. She looked up through teary eyes at Maya, and in that moment, she realized she could never compete. Maybe she shouldn't have tried in the first place. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse for Chanel, the door opened again. A man walked in, short, sweaty, and angry, waving a piece of paper in the air. There she is, he shouted. That's the thief I've been looking for. Chanel looked up, her eyes wide with panic. Mr. Coyote, she whispered. He stormed toward her, ignoring the stares of the shocked guests. You took my iPhone 15 Pro Max and said you would send the money the next day. That was 2 months ago, he yelled. I was going to pay, Chanel stammered, backing away. Lies. If so, why have you been ignoring my calls? Now I've found you. Before anyone could stop him, he snatched the phone out of her hand. Let go, Chanel screamed, but he already had it. He reached for her necklace, fake gold, but borrowed from his shop too, and pulled it off. Guests gasped. Then, as if to finish what was already broken, he looked down at her shoes. These heels too, he said. I rented them to you for a photo shoot. You said it was just for 2 hours. No. Please, Chanel cried, grabbing his hand. Not here. Don't do this to me here. But the man bent down and took off her shoes, one by one, leaving her standing barefoot on the cold tile floor. She collapsed onto a chair, shaking. No one said a word. The same people who had clapped for her earlier now couldn't meet her eyes. Maya stood quietly to the side, not smiling, not gloating, just watching. One classmate whispered, she even rented her life. Another turned to Maya and said softly, Maya, you never changed. You're still pure-hearted. We were just too blind to see it. She gave a small smile and bowed her head. All around her, the truth was settling in like heavy rain. The tables had turned. Chanel, once the loudest in the room, was now the quietest. No fame, No followers. No shoes. Just the weight of her own choices pressing down. That night, Chanel returned to her tiny rented room, tucked away behind a noisy mechanic workshop. The walls were stained. The fan creaked loudly. Her mattress sat on the bare floor. She sat in silence. She unlocked her phone and scrolled through old photos, real ones. Pictures from school days. She and Maya laughing near the mango tree. Her in her uniform. No makeup. No filters. Just youth and light in her eyes. She wiped a tear. She tried to call Maya, but then remembered she had refused to give her number. Heart pounding, she searched for Maya's company online and found the address. The next morning, she dressed in the only neat clothes she had left and made her way there. The receptionist at the front desk looked her over carefully. "I need to see Maya," Chanel said softly. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I'm her classmate." I'm sorry," the receptionist interrupted politely. "She's fully booked for the next 4 months." Chanel sighed and turned to leave. But just as she stepped outside, she saw Maya walking toward the entrance. Their eyes met. Chanel froze. Then slowly, she fell to her knees on the pavement in front of everyone. "Maya, please," she whispered, voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry." Maya stood still. "I was jealous," Chanel sobbed. "You were everything I could never be. Pure, strong, content, and I couldn't stand it. I thought I had to look rich to be somebody, but I lost myself chasing lies. I'm alone, and I need help." There was no crowd, no laughter, just truth. Maya walked forward, helped Chanel to her feet, and looked into her eyes. "I forgive you." Chanel wept into her hands. Maya continued, gently but firmly. "You need to start again. Go back to school. Be honest with yourself. You can still change." She handed Chanel a small envelope. "Here's an offer. A job at my foundation. Nothing fancy, but it's honest work." Chanel nodded, still shaking. "Thank you." Maya smiled. "We may not be close again, but I want to see you rise, for real this time." After that day, Chanel truly began to change. She deleted all her fake social media accounts. No more filters. No more lies. She began working in Maya's foundation, quietly, humbly, step by step. She enrolled in evening classes, slowly rebuilding her life. Maya returned to her peaceful world, building clinics, teaching children, and leading with quiet grace. She and Elijah began to plan their wedding, simple, elegant, filled with love and meaning. And so the story ends, not with glitter or drama, but with a quiet, powerful truth. Humility, contentment, and integrity will outlast all fleeting illusions of status. Always.